Hey, yo, what's up, YouTube, man? It's your boy, Action Jackson, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the NFL Draft winners and losers. So before we hop into the video, I would appreciate if you guys would like the video, subscribe if you're new, comment, and share my video with anyone who you think will enjoy my content. I got a group of 6 winners, and I have a group of 4 losers in the NFL Draft. So for my winners, what I'm going to do basically in this video is I'm going to go over the winners and losers, their draft, and what I thought about the draft and where they could have improved and everything like that. But I'm going to list off the winners, list off the losers. Then, like I said, one by one, I'm going to go over what I thought about their draft. So Detroit, Seattle, Pittsburgh, Houston, Arizona, and Baltimore, those are all my winners. And my losers are Washington, Tennessee, Green Bay, and New Orleans. The first pick that they selected was Jahmyr Gibbs. The first round really was Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell. I think this was a solid first overall, first round. But for me, I would have gone different talents. Like getting a running back was solid for them. I knew that when you selected Jahmyr Gibbs, that DeAndre Swift was going to go because you just had signed David Montgomery to a contract. You just let go of Jamal Williams, so you obviously knew that the odd man out of that running back room was going to DeAndre Swift. I felt like they should have gone Christian Gonzalez because I know they lost Omanaway, their other cornerback, to the Giants, and I know they lost another corner, Jeff Okudah. They traded him to the Atlanta Falcons for basically nothing. So you got Jahmyr Gibbs, who's still a really good running back. I had him graded as a first-round talent, but I just had him going in the back end of the draft, like in the 20s to late 30s. Campbell, this was a bit of a surprise, even though you already had Malcolm Rodriguez, linebacker out of Oklahoma State. I know you had Kirby Joseph, you had Aiden Hutchinson, so you still have some solid weapons for you on the defensive side. I thought they would have paired them up with another defensive end, someone like a Kalaji Canty or somebody like that, or even a Nolan Smith to go opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, or even a Mozzie Smith to pair up in that middle to help out Aiden Hutchinson. But they still have a really good draft. I like Jack Campbell a lot. I had a early day 2, late day 1 grade on him as well. So it's solid for him. Then the second round, they got Sam Laporta, tight end out of Iowa. They were missing a tight end with TJ Hawkins. They drafted Brian Branch, was a really versatile defensive player. They can play him at nickel, safety. They can do a lot of different things with Brian Branch. So, that's going to be really solid for them. Hendon Hooker, that's definitely their down-the-line quarterback when Jared Goff is no longer going to be there. Jared Goff is still a solid quarterback in this league, and he led them to 8 wins last year. So you already know that Jared Goff, they got better definitely in this division. I even have them winning this division coming out next year. I know you still have Minnesota, you still have Green Bay, but I think the draft that Green Bay had wasn't so good. And I do think that Detroit got a lot better. The offensive line is still solid. They're going to have Jameson Williams. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got Sam Laporta. You got Jahmyr Gibbs. You got David Montgomery. So you still have a really solid roster. And Hendon Hooker is definitely somebody that I think that he will be able to take the quarterback reins after next year, because there is a report coming out that this is his redshirt year. So that means Hendon Hooker isn't going to play. He's going to sit, learn a great deal behind Jared Goff, and they're going to do fine. Seahawks, man, they had a really solid draft. I like the direction they were going. I felt like for me, they could have got a little bit better defensive players because they needed better defensive players, because I felt like that was more of their problem last year than offensively. But if you want to make a strength to strength, I don't blame them at all. Cornerback, I felt like was solid for me. They already had Michael Jackson Sr. You already had Tariq Woolen, who was really great for you. You're going to have Jamal Adams coming back. You got Quandre Diggs. I felt like if you would have got Jalen Carter at 5, and then you would have got Jackson Smith or even Devin Witherspoon, because cornerbacks were falling down in the draft. Or even if you would have went corner, I would have liked for them to have gone Christian Gonzalez, but still, Devon Witherspoon is still not a bad player. He's really great out of Illinois. He's a do-it-all corner. He's physical. He's a playmaker. He can do it all. And you for sure want to lock down and get you that Legion of Boom that Seattle's trying to create out there in Seattle. So I trust Seattle and what they're going to do. They did really great so far in the Russell Wilson draft so far. I think they aced it. I gotta go over that draft, later on down the line. But they really fleeced the Denver Broncos for right now, and so that was their first pick. The fifth overall pick in the first round. They selected Devin Witherspoon. Then with their original pick, they picked Jason, Ohio State. That was a really, really great pick for the Seattle Seahawks. I think he's definitely going to be your slot player, and your two outside receivers are obviously going to be Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. So your offense is set. I like Zach Charbonnet at UCLA runner, and I felt like they definitely needed to get a backup running back after Kenneth Walker, because I felt like they weren't able to run the ball that well after Kenneth Walker would go out and he would take a breather. They wouldn't be able to run the ball. You knew that they were obviously going to throw the ball when Kenneth Walker wasn't on the field. Now you get Zach Charbonnet, who can do a little bit of both, and you'll be all right. You got Derek Hall, very nice pass rusher. You got Anthony Bradford. I saw his film, and the only reason why I know about this prospect is because I saw Vash Lombardi go over the draft picks and the offensive guards, and he was getting bullied a lot against Alabama, against Georgia, so he wasn't doing that well in top-tier talent, and he was okay, and in other spots, but he's all right. I think that if Seattle gets a hold of him, which they already do, and they fix him up on some things, he can be a really good guard. They got defensive tackle Cameron Young out of Mississippi State, not to be confused with the defensive end Brian Young. Oh, never mind. They didn't draft him. Never mind. Cameron Young out of Mississippi State, solid. Kenny McIntosh, their 7th round pick, was very solid for me. Now you have a 3 running back room with Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, Kenny McIntosh, all 3 running backs that can do it all. Seattle, they love to run the ball, and they are that running back by committee sort of team. That's what the NFC West normally has anyway. They love that running back by committee, so they're going to have a lot of different running backs that all can tote the rock and all can receive and everything like that, do a little bit of everything. So Seattle, for me, they had a really, really good draft. I felt like, for me, what they could have gotten better at was maybe in that run defense department, maybe getting a Jalen Carter, but I thought they should have gotten quarterback, because next year they're not going to have the luxury of having 2 first-round picks. So I felt like they should have gotten their quarterback this year with Hendon Hooker. But hey, Seattle knows what they're doing. I'm not going to dock them. They had a really good draft in mind. I really don't know what will be going on with Pittsburgh, but man, they get extremely blessed year in and year out. I love the way they draft first off, and the way that they develop players is up there. They develop players really, really well, and it's going to be cool what they're going to see, what they're going to do with Kenny Pickett and everything like that. But I had the Pittsburgh Steelers as my winners, man, and I think they pretty much had a flawless draft, in my opinion, man. You look at it, Broderick Jones, they traded up with New England, which was a spiteful move out of the Jets. So they traded up. They got one of the top 5 offensive linemen in the draft. So now they got that secured left tackle, blocking Kenny Pickett's blind side. It's going to help out the receivers like George Pickett Johnson. Now you got Freiermuth. Then you got Darnell Washington in the 3rd round, who was a really solid pick for me, was tight end 3 in this year's draft. He slid because of injuries. You got Joey Porter Jr. was a match made in heaven. Joey Porter Jr. has already been used to the system. In my real mock draft, I had a lot of these guys going certain places. As going to Green Bay, which I got right. I had Joey Porter going to the Steelers, but I didn't see Joey Porter getting selected in the first pick of the 2nd round. I thought he would have been a first rounder, but still, you got a first round talent in the 2nd round, which is really, really nice for Pittsburgh. He's already used to the environment. He's already been in the locker room. He already knows Mike Tomlin, so it's going to be pick up and play for him. Keanu Benton was a really, really, really nice defensive tackle. They're saying he's just like another Cameron Hayward, and if that is true, Pittsburgh's defense is really stout now. Then now you got Nick Herbig, edge out of Wisconsin, solid rotational depth piece. You got him, Highsmith, T.J. Watt, and then now Nick Herbig can be out there and he can do a lot of different things and still can get to the pass rusher, right? So now when T.J. Watt is due to miss those couple 4 or 5 games, Nick Herbig and Alex Highsmith can pick up the load at, getting to the passer, and they won't have to suffer as much. And then on my next one I'm going to go over is the Houston Texans. And with the Houston Texans, man, they've been looking for their franchise quarterback for almost 3 years now, ever since they let go of Deshaun Watson. I know there was a lot of fourth saying that they weren't going to draft a quarterback because they believed in Davis Mills, which I knew was a bluff. And you didn't know that the Houston Texans are going to be picking top 2 in the draft ever again. So it just made sense for them to get their quarterback. And CJ Stroud for me was 1B or 1A, depending on how you looked at him. If you went off a recency bias and you said, hey, look what he did against Georgia. He put up 40 points or whatever. He had a really good showing, even with Marvin Harrison leaving in that game after, in the second half, he did really well after Marvin Harrison Jr. had went out in the first half. CJ Stroud was still able to hold his own, still able to dart up, and he did very well. Then you had DeMeco Ryans. You had a whole new coaching staff. DeMeco Ryans is going to bring over that San Fran-like defense and offense. So I think you get CJ Stroud with that San Francisco-like offense and that RPO type read offense. I think CJ Stroud is going to do just fine. Then you get who some people deemed as the best player in the draft, or best defensive player in the draft, even the best player in the draft. But for me, I think that they did really well trading up with Arizona, and they went up. They got their they got their second best defensive player in the draft class for me, and Will Anderson. DeMeco Ryans loves that pick, and now he has something to work with defensively. Him, Derek Stingley Jr., Jalen Petrie. So they're working fine on both ends. You got Juice Scruggs, center out of Penn State. They need that offensive tackle. You got Shaq Mason. You got Tyus Howard at right tackle. You got Laramie Tunsil left tackle. So now the, Houston Texans, they're looking really solid, man. They got Tank Dell, which I really love that pick. And CJ Stroud vouched for him as soon as he got drafted. CJ Stroud said, hey, man, we're going to need a receiver. Now, you got Nico Collins. You got O.J. Howard. So you got a lot of working pieces. Dameon Pierce. You got a lot of working pieces out in Houston. So Houston's looking solid for me, in my opinion. They got the linebacker out of Alabama, Henry, out of TCU edge. So they had a really solid draft, in my opinion. Now, next team we're going to go over is the Arizona Cardinals. And for me, the reason why the Arizona Cardinals are one of my winners is not only for the players that they did draft, but also the compensation that they did get from trading down from 3 to 12, then trading back up from 12 into the back in the top 10, really, to go get their offensive tackle one, in my opinion, which was Paris Johnson Jr. They got somebody who can protect the blind side of Kyler Murray when he is ready to go in 2024. You got B.J. Ojulari, who's a really nice edge rusher out of LSU. Garrett Williams with a lot of upside, had an injury as to why he fell down into the day 2. So Garrett Williams is really solid, long, physical corner. You got Michael Wilson, who I love that kid out of Stanford. You got John Gaines. You got Clayton Tune, somebody who can back up Kyler Murray. So if Kyler Murray, Clayton Tune's really solid out of Houston. He's a solid quarterback, but, he can probably step in when Kyler Murray is out, get you a couple wins, maybe stay competitive or whatever, but he's still a rookie. But, so basically they got the trade that they did do was that they did get Houston's first round pick for next year. So if Houston doesn't turn out to be that good and they have a top 5 pick, now Arizona can get them Marvin Harrison Jr. And if they got a bunch of guys opting out, players who don't want to be there, like DeAndre Hopkins, Budda Baker. So they have a very good option at being the number 1 overall pick next year. Then they can get a haul like how the Bears did from Carolina. New Orleans has their first round pick next year. They're not good. They can trade up and go get a Caleb Williams. You got Tennessee Titans who can potentially trade up for a guy like that. Washington Commanders. So Cardinals set themselves up not only good for this year, but next year as well, to have multiple first round picks next year. And you can get a haul if you're really trash next year. You get the number 1 overall pick. You can get a nice haul and just have first round picks for the next 2 or 3 years. Baltimore is my next winner, and the reason why I have Baltimore as my next winner is because not only for what they did in the draft, but how they saved their franchise essentially, because they never were a team really that can develop quarterbacks, because the best quarterback that they ever developed really was Joe Flacco, and he was all right. He was solid enough, but he didn't last that long, and he wasn't a guy that was a franchise guy that they had for 10 or 20 years for Joe Flacco. He was solid, got them a Super Bowl ring and everything like that. But, Lamar Jackson's easily the best quarterback that they've ever had on that roster, other than like a Steve McNair. But, they got him. They finally took, Lamar Jackson was drafted in 2018, so it took him 5 years, 6 years to finally realize that, hey, we got to put adequate talent on the outside for us to win games in and out. And I feel like that was always Baltimore's problem in the playoffs, was that they was never able to spread the ball or compete really in the playoffs and and go far in the playoffs, because they were never able to spread out the ball like how their other AFC components were, like the Bengals, Bills, Chiefs. They weren't able to, have shootouts with them because they were limited offensively, because all they were really built to do was run the ball and play good defense. But if they weren't able to run the ball, they had nobody to throw the ball to. Zay Flowers, for me, was easily, with their first round pick, was easily a top 3 receiver in this draft. Change of direction, his crazy route separation is really good. Reminds him of Antonio Brown, just minus the off the field issues. Really great character type guy. Then they got Trenton Simpson. Really, what this basically means, it puts Patrick Quinn on the clock. They got Tavares Robinson. They got Andrew Voorhees, for me, who was a top 5 offensive guard in this draft, and he obviously slid. He was going to be a day 2 product, but early day 3. But obviously he fell because he tore his ACL. They got a really great offensive guard moving forward that they can pair with Tyler Linderbaum. List, and my first loser is going to be the Washington Commanders. And no, I'm not hating because they are in my division, but I just didn't like the draft that they did have, especially knowing that you're on the NFC East, who got a lot better now, and you're competing with quarterbacks like Dak and those guys got convincingly better than what you did. I don't think you have a quarterback that's going to compete and going to be able to win you games right now. I don't think Sam Howell's that good. If they're just basing off of off that Dallas game, then they're in for a rude awakening, because Dallas just played a vanilla type of game, and we were already resting, and we'd had nothing to play for because the Giants already sat out all their starters. We already knew that the Niners were playing their starters for a half, and for the first half and the third quarter. So they already knew that. We already knew they were going to blow out Arizona essentially. We didn't try our best. You could just tell by the film. So, you got Manuel Forbes. I felt like they should have gotten Christian Gonzalez. I knew cornerback was going to be a need and that they were going to go for that in the first round. But I felt like they should have got a better prospect with Christian Gonzalez. Manuel Forbes is still solid. Don't get me wrong by that. But I felt like they could have gotten better talent there. They got Tre'Davious Martin in the second round. Solid. Okay. They are fixing their secondary. Round 3 and round 4, they did fix their offensive line with Ricky Stormberg and Brayton Daniels. You got KJ Henry. They had a solid draft, but I just feel like they were losers because they could have gotten a better quarterback, and they could have gotten a Hendon Hooker in the second round, and could definitely been competing at the, in the NFC East, especially knowing, like I said, you're by default right now the 4th best team in the division, because the Giants got better than you, the Cowboys are better than you, and so is Philly. So I feel like they could have got a lot better. They could have gotten a better corner. They could have just got better talent overall. Knowing that they do need help in the secondary, they did address some needs. But if you were going to address the needs, I think you should have gotten Christian Gonzalez, who was the best corner in this year's draft. Losers for me are going to be the Tennessee Titans, man. And for me, it is, what direction are they going? You drafted Malik Willis last year with the, with your 3rd round pick, right? And for me, I felt like that was just completely blown out of proportion, really, with how you guys did him, because the roster isn't really that great. Treylon Burks didn't pan out to be the person that you wanted him to be. You wanted him to be your A.J. Brown replacement. That just wasn't what it was. A.J. Brown still had to go. A.J. Brown left, but still with a lot of, rookie receivers, they need to make that transition into league. Now everyone's Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, where they can just go into the league and they automatically light stuff up. I just think that was completely wrong of how they did Malik Willis. And Will Levis, I think, is a solid quarterback. I don't think he's that guy. But I think that if he comes with right coaching and they fix him up on turnover issues and what he sees, he has it all physically. He just needs to fix out, his mental compartment playing quarterback. He has fixed accuracy issues. So he has a couple things that he needs to work on. But I just think he's walking in the same situation. They didn't get any real pass catchers in this draft. They didn't get a receiver to the 7th round. They didn't go out and make major transitions or transactions for the receiver. They didn't get better in the receiver room. They let go of Robert Woods. So they got Peter Skoronski solid. Will Levis, I think you're bringing him in the same situation as Malik Willis. Tyjae Spears, I think is a really, really good pick to back up Derrick Henry. That's a really good running back. I really liked him coming out of the draft. You got Josh Wiley. I just think they could have gotten better pass catchers. I like the Peter Skoronski pick, but I think they could have gotten like a Jonathan Mingo in the 2nd round. I think they just could have got better talent because they need a lot for that team, So they could have gotten better defensive help. Could have got you a pass catcher like Jonathan Mingo, like I said, because you need more pass catchers because that was one of your main issues last year as to why you couldn't win a lot of games because you couldn't stretch the ball vertically. So they're one of my second losers. Now, my third loser I'm going to go over is Green Bay. I don't think Green Bay is that good of a drafting team anyway. They don't draft that well. And I don't know what Jordan Love is going to be this year. He did show a little bit of promise, played a little bit in that Philadelphia game. He was darting up Philly for a little bit. And for me, I just think they didn't do much to help him. Now, I understand that they did need defensive help. And I felt like they could have gone Nolan Smith over Lucas Van Ness. In my opinion, I didn't really like that pick. I did have him in, my mock draft of all 32 teams in the 1st round that they were going to draft him because I just felt like that was just a Packer pick. But I feel like even if you wanted to go defensively, like I said, Nolan Smith was on the board. Receiver was still there. You could have gone Jackson Smith and Jigbo or Zay Flowers because because Christian Watson stepped up, Romeo Doubs stepped up, but still Aaron Rodgers still had a tough time throwing in the ball, and they couldn't separate as well. So why didn't you get you a real separator to help out Jordan Love? Luke Musgrave, solid tight end. We're going to see what he's going to be in the league. Jaden Reed, solid. I liked him out of Michigan State, solid route runner. But I feel like you could have got you a better receiver in the 1st round. You got Tucker Kraft, so that automatically lets me know that the Packers, they want to go 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 1 running back, and they want to go out and run the ball. They got Sean Clifford. They went running back, and they went quarterback in the 5th round. You got Carl Brooks, which was a really nice defensive tackle, edge, hybrid. Final losers for the 2023 NFL draft were the New Orleans Saints. They had a lot of different places they could have gone. I feel like they could have gone quarterback. Andy Dalton had left. You got Jameis Winston. I felt, Taysom Hill, who was your do-it-all player. I felt like you could have got quarterback in this round, but that's fine. You went Brian Bresee. That's somebody I also did mock the Saints draft. That was somebody I felt like what they did. They went defensive heavy in this draft, and I felt like they're trying to re-up on that defense, and they know that if they can make that defense a strong point, that they can keep in a lot of their games. I know the NFC South is very, very weak, and I understand that they can still, compete in that division. So I think they're okay with working with Michael Thomas. They have Chris Olave. Now they got Jameis Winston. So I feel like they could have gone, quarterback for the future, but that's fine. They want to get their defensive, they still want to be defensively stout. They got Kendre Miller, running back out of TCU. They got Jake Hayner out of Fresno State. So I guess that's going to be their quarterback that they probably develop. There's a lot of people saying that he's going to be like Drew Brees, but I think a lot of people are overhyping that. I like their 6th round pick, A.T. Perry, wide receiver. That's going to be wide receiver depth. Probably going to be wide receiver 4, but, his high upside, he could possibly be like, your 3rd, 2nd best receiver on, the team, depending on what they do with Michael Thomas. So, yeah, man, that's about it for the video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye.